Most people's experience with staff at the Trent-Severn waterway is limited to getting a warm welcome and a helping hand through the locks. But behind the scenes is a coordinated effort by the Parks Canada team. And if they do their jobs wrong, it could lead to disaster.
The consequence and the risk of failure here is really huge. And that's what I don't think people understand, is that this is a really finely balanced operation. We tend dams within a 18,000 square kilometer watershed, day and night, 365 days a year in order to manage water levels. You've got to have a whole bunch of movements and all the staff very tightly synchronized in order to make sure that we can do our job.
And there's plenty of water to take care of. The system is made up of 44 locks and over 160 dams. The waterway passes through 3 cities and 4 counties, as well as over 125,000 properties along the shoreline, home to more than 1 million Canadians. With such a large area, the water is an important resource that has to be properly distributed to meet the needs of the public.
It is a very, very broad range of priorities for which we manage the water. Potable water for individuals, water for community, irrigation, habitat for flora and fauna that live on, in, or near the water, recreational boating, maintenance of other waterfront structures and infrastructure, quality of life, and number one is personal health and safety.
Every time you're working on a manual dam, or you're dealing with a spillway, which is an opening in the dam deck that is actually open. There's a possibility that someone could fall through it. And when we're working on these dams in inclement weather, where there's freezing rain or snow or ice, staff have to be very aware of the opening in the dam deck as they're working. If they're not aware, consequences could be fatal. All of the experience is corporate knowledge, and it's passed on from older staff to younger staff.
My name's Ed Donald, and I've been working at the Peterborough Lift Lock here. This will be my 22nd season. The experience only comes from working at this site. You don't get to go to school. There is no lift lock training school. This is all done on site, and it is literally a one-off system.
The big thing about this lock too that's really important is that you pass down knowledge. So if I run into some sort of problem, you can't really call in help until you know what that problem is. And with Ed being here 22 years, there's not a whole lot of situations we run into that either he hasn't seen before or the combined two of us that we haven't seen before.
Some of the things that we do around the Peterborough Lift Lock here that the general public isn't privy to or doesn't get to see is a very long list. We do all the internal work and maintenance on this lock that's all out of the public eye. For example, we do all of the tightening of the rams, the torque tubes, the inner torque tubes. We grease and oil the entire lock, so it's a balancing act. If you squeeze that ram too tight, the 52 nuts around that main gland, you can take that gland and squeeze it so tight that that total weight of chamber and water, 3.6 million pounds, will not descend.
You know, to this day, we are still doing some dam operations in the reservoirs, very similar to what it was done 100 years ago, with hand cranks and logs and tongs and some of the old type of technology. I think probably one of the biggest aspects that we have is that the old equipment is manpower intensive. And you have to have a full crew of people out there to operate some of this stuff. Dams are inherently dangerous places, and a lot of our dam work is done in reaction to an external stimulus, like a power plant going offload or offline in the middle of a dark, dirty winter's night, and our crews get called out to go make dam adjustments to react to the change in the flow through the plant. And those are terribly dirty and dangerous jobs.
Quite often we wake them up out of bed in the middle of the night, and they show up to these dangerous structures to work, generally in the evening, so the light is minimal, slippery conditions. You're dealing with a structure where water flow is present. So if somebody does fall in, you know, the chance of them being swept away is great. So it's one of the dangers of the job that our staff have to constantly be aware of. They're constantly dealing with flow of water, and quite often a high flow of water in the vicinity of power generation stations. So there is no room for error. We can't fall in. These men and women work tirelessly during their working hours and outside of their scheduled working hours to ensure that we experience seamless water management right across the watershed. But the public generally don't notice that it's even going on. But it goes on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, almost without error, and it's a very seamless operation.
Yeah, I really do think that the water control staff, and whether it's from the water control engineer to the fellow that's out doing a dam change in the middle of the night, these people are really the unsung heroes, because they're out tending water for a whole myriad of purposes that are all for the public good, and to see the smiles on the faces of, you know, the million and a half visitors that come through the Trent-Severn waterway, whether it's by boat or bus or car. I mean, I do believe that is a great visitor experience, and I'm really pleased to be able to, you know, do a little part to make it happen for Canadians.
I'll give one little analogy that a old fella taught me many years ago when I joined the canal. He said, well, lad, it's the quality of work in life. He says, if you're not happy with your job, then you're basically just not happy. I took that to heart. I enjoy my job, and my life is better because of it.